They didn't just block my road. They welded a 6-foot steel monstrosity across it at 6 in the damn morning while I was still dreaming about coffee. And there she stood like a queen on her porcelain throne. Patricia Winslow, clipboard in one hand, phone recording in the other, wearing that fake concerned smile. HOA Karen's perfect in the mirror every night. The bright orange notice flapping in the breeze read, "Unauthorized access. Violators will be fined $500. The joke was on them. That road wasn't theirs to gate. It was mine by law, recorded decades before their cookie-cutter paradise even existed on paper. Her smile twitched when she saw me walking out calm, phone already rolling. She expected yelling. She craved the scene. What she didn't know was that I'd been waiting for this exact level of stupid. You see, in Emerald Grove Estates, conformity wasn't a suggestion, it was the state religion, and Patty was high priestess. The subdivision had sprouted up around my 5-acre slice of heaven like mold on week-old bread, all beige siding, identical mailboxes, and lawns mowed to military specs. My workshop sat at the far end of the property, a place where I built custom furniture that actually lasted longer than a HOA meeting. Deliveries of lumber, hardware, clients picking up pieces, they all relied on that gravel ribbon snaking through the lower edge of their pristine kingdom. It wasn't some squatter's path. It was a recorded private easement, stamped, surveyed, and older than Patty's fake pearls. I bought the land the old-fashioned way, years of double shifts at the mill, eating ramen, so I could own something real. The day I closed, I walked every boundary line myself, boots crunching frost, fingers tracing the cold steel survey stakes. That easement was the spine of everything I built. Without it, my business died. Emergency services couldn't reach me. Clients wouldn't risk the detour. But to Patty and her clipboard cult, I was the glitch in their perfect matrix, a reminder that not every soul bowed to their bylaws about flagpole heights and holiday light schedules. Our first dance happened on a sunny Tuesday. I was unloading oak planks when her golf cart purred up, all pastel blouse and saccharine tone. "Jordan, sweetie, we noticed you're using our road again," she said, like she personally poured the gravel. I wiped my hands, smiled the patient smile I'd practiced in the mirror. "It's not yours, Patty. Recorded easement. County records will back me up." Her jaw did this tiny clench, barely noticeable unless you were watching for it. "Well, cooperation keeps the neighborhood pleasant," she cooed, but her eyes said otherwise. From that second, I became her personal project. The man who wouldn't kneel. Small stuff started next. Anonymous notes about excessive dust from my truck. Photos snapped from behind curtains every time I drove through. One Karen in training actually complained my delivery van was visually disruptive because the logo wasn't beige enough. I laughed it off at first, until the first invoice showed up tucked under my wiper like a parking ticket. Road usage fee, $75. I stared at it over morning coffee, chuckling in that way that hurts your stomach. They wanted me to pay for breathing on a road I owned the legal right to use. Classic HOA logic. If we can't control you, we'll bankrupt you with paperwork. I didn't yell. I filed. Every notice, every photo, every whispered insult went into my binder, the one I kept in the truck like a loaded gun. Because I knew people like Patty. They thrived on reaction. Give them rage and they win. Stay calm, document everything, and watch them paint themselves into a corner with their own ridiculous rules. The cameras came next, tiny black eyes blinking from the trees like judgmental squirrels. One aimed straight at my driveway, recording every time I stepped outside to grab the mail. Patty called it community safety. I called it what it was, stalking with better funding. But I smiled, waved at the lenses, and kept adding footage to my collection. Let them watch. I was watching right back. Then the rumors started dripping like poison in the community Facebook group. He's planning a full commercial operation back there. Noise, traffic, who knows what kind of people. Patty's fingerprints were all over it. Suddenly neighbors who used to wave now crossed the street when they saw my truck. Kids stopped riding bikes near my workshop. One mom actually pulled her toddler inside like I was contagious. I sat in my shop one night, surrounded by half-finished walnut tables, and laughed the dark laugh you only laugh when the world has gone completely insane. They were terrified of a guy who made coffee tables, all because Queen Patty needed a villain to justify her throne. The county inspector rolled up after her third complaint about illegal widening. He looked tired before he even got out of the truck. Another one, huh? I handed him the folder. Permits, easements, everything. He flipped through, sighed, and muttered, "This is cleaner than my marriage." Complaint denied. Again. But denial only made Patty's eyes harder. She wasn't retreating. She was reloading. I felt the noose tightening, but I didn't fight back yet. I observed. I waited. Because the best revenge isn't loud, it's surgical. And Patty was about to hand me the scalpel. The envelopes kept coming, each one bolder, the fees climbing like her ego. Road maintenance contribution, $150. Non-compliant user impact fee, $200. They even threw in a line about how my selfish use was degrading property values. I pinned them to my workshop wall like trophies. Black humor at its finest. A homeowners association demanding money from someone outside their cult for a road they had zero legal claim to. It was like a stranger billing you for using the sidewalk. Patty's board started trespassing next. I caught 3 of them one foggy morning snapping pictures of my fence posts, muttering about encroachment. They didn't even flinch when I stepped out with my phone rolling. "Just clarifying boundaries," Patty said, tapping one of my perfectly placed survey markers with her designer loafer. I filmed every footprint they left in my clay. Later I zoomed in on the video and laughed until my sides hurt. Grown adults playing detective on land they had no right to step on, all while their own lawns probably violated 3 of their precious rules about grass height. The sabotage got creative after that. One morning my truck dipped hard into a fresh hole where gravel had been neatly scooped out overnight. 10 feet of missing road, just enough to look unsafe. 2 days later the directional sign at the entrance was twisted 90 degrees, so deliveries ended up at a dead-end cul-de-sac. I fixed it, documented the tool marks, and added it to the binder. Someone had used actual wrenches for this level of petty. Impressive, in a sad, small way. Then came the real gut punch, the scratch carved deep across my truck door like a signature. Tucked under the wiper was another flyer. Community concerns about non-resident activity. My business took hits immediately. 2 clients canceled, whispering about zoning issues and access problems. Rumors travel faster than facts in a place obsessed with appearances. I sat in the cab that night, staring at the gouge, and felt the anger settle into something cold and useful. No more defense, I said out loud to the empty shop. Time to build the case that would end her. I spent nights reconstructing everything. Timeline, photos, county logs, my original easement deed with its yellowed edges and ironclad language. I called the land use attorney I'd kept in my back pocket. His laugh on the phone was pure gold. "Jordan, you've got them dead to rights. This isn't a dispute. This is a felony gift." The special meeting notice went up on the HOA board like a declaration of war. Vote on closure of non-resident road access for safety and community integrity. They were about to democratically steal something the law said they couldn't touch. I stood there reading it, pulse steady, and smiled the smile of a man who knew exactly how this movie ended. Patty had spent months turning the neighborhood into her personal army of Karens, all convinced I was the big, bad developer about to ruin their precious view. They didn't realize they were voting to commit a crime in broad daylight. The morning the gate appeared, the air felt too still, like the whole subdivision was holding its breath for the stupidest decision in HOA history. I turned onto the road expecting gravel and got steel instead, welded, padlocked, concrete footers poured in the dark like some low-budget mob movie. Patty stood 20 feet away recording again, chin high, waiting for my meltdown. I didn't give her one. I just pulled out my phone, started filming, and walked straight to my truck for the binder. "Morning, Patty. Nice arts and crafts project." Her smile froze. The board members behind her shifted uncomfortably. They knew this was different. I called the sheriff instead of the HOA hotline. When Deputy Ramirez arrived, he took one look at the gate, one look at my documents, and shook his head like he'd seen every dumb decision humanity ever made. "Ma'am, you cannot weld a barrier across a recorded easement. This is a safety hazard and a straight-up violation." Patty tried the sweet voice. "Officer, we're simply protecting our community." My attorney stepped out of his car at exactly the right second, briefcase swinging. "Interesting theory. Let's test it in court." The crowd that had gathered, neighbors who'd been fed her lies for months, started murmuring. Phones came out. But this time they weren't on her side. The sheriff read the easement aloud right there in the sunshine. Binding. Predates subdivision. Full access granted. Gasps rippled through the cul-de-sac. One woman actually whispered. Patty said he was lying. When the county crew showed up with tools, Patty's board turned on her faster than you can say lawsuit. She told us the easement didn't exist. She used community funds for the cameras. This was all her idea. Her clipboard trembled. The Queen was suddenly very alone. The deputy handed me the bolt cutters. You want the honors? I positioned them on the lock, felt the metal give with a satisfying snap, and pushed the gate open. Sunlight poured through like it had been waiting for this moment. Cheers, actual cheers, from people who'd avoided me for months. Patty's face drained of color. Her empire didn't just crack, it imploded in real time while everyone watched. Within a week, the county fined the HOA thousands. Cameras came down. Patty was voted out in an emergency meeting so fast her chair was still warm. The board president resigned the same day. Neighbors started showing up with apologies and pies, admitting they'd bought the whole commercial threat story. The neighborhood slowly exhaled. Kids rode bikes again. People waved without looking over their shoulders. I drove the open road every morning after that, feeling the gravel under my tires like freedom. My business bounced back stronger. The county even upgraded the drainage. Justice wasn't loud fireworks. It was quiet, steady, and permanent. But here's the part that still makes me laugh in the dark. Patty had spent years preaching community harmony while breaking every real law in the book to protect her little throne. She turned neighbors against neighbors, wasted taxpayer time, and nearly destroyed a man's livelihood, all because one guy wouldn't mow his lawn to her exact specifications. So tell me, was the HOA really protecting the neighborhood, or was one woman's ego trip the only real violation here? Drop your own HOA horror stories below. Let's decide together who was truly in the wrong.